Saturday, Sunday, I'm front center. Looking forward to
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Packers, Niners, Rodgers, Garoppolo. 8-2, first 9-1. This was supposed to be epic. Hell, they flexed this into Sunday Night Football. This was supposed to be a 425 America's Game of the Week type of game. But they were going head-to-head with Cowboys, Patriots. So you really didn't want two mega matchups squaring off against one another. So you know what they did? They said, you know what? Brainstorm, idea. We're going to take this game, flex it into Sunday night. So now we have the best of both worlds. You get a bite out of both apples. This is great. That Cowboys-Patriots game turned out to be a dud. Maybe because of the weather, but it wasn't a very good game to watch. And this game turned out to be a dud, but for different reasons. Because one team decided to show up and the other decided to get their asses kicked. Now, I went into this game and I was dumb enough to pick the Packers. I will admit that right off the bat, but hear me out. So I went into this game thinking two things. These were the two things that I wanted to. And so I said, one, Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. But instead of him being a bad man, he was just bad, man. And it was because of that 49ers defense, and we'll talk about them a lot tonight. But I said, look, the last time I saw this Packers football team versus a good defense, they looked very average. And I said, if they look average again or below average, which is what they look tonight, again, which is what they looked like the last time they were against an elite defense or an elite caliber defense, then I know who they are as a football team, and I'm done with the Packers. I'm off of them. And the second thing I said was, I trust Rodgers more than I trust Garoppolo, and if this game is close late, I take Rodgers over Garoppolo to find a way to get it done. The Packers had previously been on primetime television 3 times, and they've won all 3 games. Now, where I made the mistake using that faulty logic was they played the Bears in week 1. They played the Lions somewhere in the middle of the season. Let's call it week 5 or 6. And then they played the Kansas City Chiefs without Mahomes. And I made the mistake of thinking that, well, they went 3-0 in that stretch. Big spot, primetime television. They found ways to get it done. It wasn't always pretty, but it was gritty. And most importantly, it was a dub. And I anticipate them doing the same thing in this particular game. Different level of opponent, different situation, and a much different stage. We came into this game feeling like it was a playoff game. The atmosphere felt playoff-like going into this game. 8-2 versus 9-1, major matchup. It had that type of feel. And they didn't come with their playoff hat on and their big boy pants on, okay? And they got spanked. And so I'm going to say this right now. The NFC North is a pretender division, all right? Full of teams acting as if they're real playoff titans, but they're not. All right. Both 8-3 teams at the top of that division hold no weight with me. All right. Minnesota's defense is trash. Okay. You can move the football and score points against the Minnesota Vikings defense. And their offense has been really good this season, but I don't know if I trust it in a major spot against an elite defense. I think when they see the Bears again later on in the season, they may wet their pants again. Okay. They struggle against elite caliber defenses. So if they saw a team like San Francisco coming, I think the gap thing on Minnesota Vikings and now the Green Bay Packers would go cower in a corner and wet themselves for the fear of seeing what this defense could do to them. I don't believe in any team in the NFC North, despite what their records say. And the Packers are going to finish this season at 12-4 or 13-3, somewhere in there, because did you see their schedule? Giants, Redskins, Lions, Bears. They're going to win at least 4 more games, possibly all 5 of them, depending on what Minnesota Vikings team shows up in week 16. They could run the table and go 13-3, or they could go 12-4. Either way, they're going to qualify for probably a top 2, most likely top 3 seed in the NFC with that record. And it's going to fall on deaf ears with me. I'm not going to be fazed nor moved. I've said all season long how impressed I've been with 2 teams in particular. Three, I take that back. Three teams in particular. San Francisco, and this is offensively, okay? San Francisco, Oakland, and Green Bay. And the reason I was so impressed with those three teams in particular is because when you watch the way they run their offense, they're very similar in how they call games, but more importantly, they're simple offenses. They don't try to reinvent the wheel. It was similar to Sean McVay when he took the league by storm 2 years ago and did much of the same last year. It's simple what he was doing. He wasn't doing anything earth-shattering. He wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. He wasn't trying to be with the times offensively. You see all these teams coming out 3 and 4 wides, and they want to spread you out, and they want to go creative, and they want to do this, and they want to have all these gadget plays. And the Packers, the 49ers, and the Raiders are keeping it simple, stupid this year. They're running the football. They got a fullback on the field. They're throwing the fullback the football. They're running a ton of screens. They're keeping it really simple. And then when they bludgeon you to death with the run and you start to come up and commit, that's when they hit you with play action fake over the top and they make you pay. And generally those teams don't miss when they get those big play opportunities. And I've been really impressed with those three teams in particular. But you know what else happens with those three teams when they can't get the run game going and things aren't going well for them and the screen game isn't working? They struggle. Now, the 49ers haven't really had to deal with that this season, all right? They really haven't had to deal with an opponent in front of them that can stifle them. And we saw a little bit of that in the Seattle game, but I thought that they actually did a good job of overcoming some of their shortcomings with all the injuries in that football game and had a chance to win and probably should have won that football game. But they haven't really met that test yet this season. I'm anxious to see what happens when they get punched in the mouth. They can't run it. The screen game isn't working. And all of a sudden now they have to kind of morph themselves into something that they're really not, which is a high-octane, explosive, dynamic offense. That's not what the 49ers are. That's not what the Raiders are, and that's damn sure not what the Green Bay Packers are. All right? They want to run the football. You heard Matt LaFleur. They're getting bludgeoned to death. I mean, they're literally getting beat with a blunt object 23-0, and he's saying, well, can't go away from the game plan. You know why? Because if we do, it's going to get a lot worse. He's telling you, we can't play any other way. We got to be able to run it. We got to be able to go play action fake off of that. We got to run the screen game. We got to do the things that we do best, or else if we have to try to do other things, we're going to lose and it's going to be very bad. Like it was against the Chargers. The three teams the Packers have seen this season that can play elite level defense: the Bears, the Chargers, and the 49ers. They struggled in all three games. They won one of them, and they barely won that one in week 1 versus the Bears on the road. They easily could have been a 6-6 team right now. Could the Green Bay Packers, 6-5. Should have lost to the Lions at home on a Monday night. Some bogus calls swung the game in their favor. They could have easily lost to the Bears in week 1. They've had some close calls this season that they've pulled out. But I'm not here to take anything away from the Packers. I just know who they are now. They showed me their true colors tonight. I gave them a final opportunity to prove to me that they weren't the team that I thought they were. Because I said on my podcast, I watched this team struggle. And I chalked it up to Devontae Adams coming back, and they tried to integrate him. And I thought they went so far to try to get him back into the offense that it took away from what they had done successfully while he was out. So I said, I want to see, because the first 2 times they've played teams with elite level defense, they've struggled this season against the Bears and the Chargers. I want to see if those instances were one-offs or if that's the norm for them. When they encounter an elite level defense, they struggle. If that's the case, then they can't get it done in the playoffs when things ratchet up. Styles make fights. Yep, they may be able to beat the Dallas Cowboys. As a matter of fact, they've already done that once this season. Okay? They may be able to beat a lesser team in the postseason. If they run into Minnesota and they get them at home, yeah, they may be able to run over the Minnesota Vikings. They might even be able to beat Seattle. Who knows? But they can't touch this San Francisco 49ers team because they have no answers for that defense. I've seen the movie already too many times with this Packers team this season. They have no answers for that kind of defense. You can give them 15 weeks to prepare. They're still going to come out and get their asses kicked like they did tonight. They had 2 weeks to prepare. Not 1, 2 weeks to prepare for that 49ers defense. And that's what Aaron Rodgers had 104 yards passing. Let me say that again for the people in the back that didn't quite hear me nor understand what I just said, because that sounds like gibberish coming out of my mouth. Aaron Rodgers, on 33 pass attempts, 20 of them completions, 104 yards. All right, I'm no mathematician, but that's just over 5 yards a completion. And I shudder to think, you're less than 3 yards per attempt. They shut him completely down. And at times, he looked scared. I looked into the eyes of a man that's used to striking fear in the opponent. And tonight, he was the guy with the fear. He was scared a couple of times. He was looking for somewhere to fall and crumble under that pressure a couple of times tonight. He wanted no smoke with this 49ers defense. And I saw that look from him versus the Chargers just a month ago. This is who the Packers are. When they face this type of adversity offensively, they have no answers. They're an ordinary, and this is what I praised them for earlier. Now it's a detriment. They're an ordinary NFL offense. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, because generally on most weeks when you're not facing elite defenses, ordinary NFL offense wins you football games. It does. If you just execute running ordinary offense, you can beat most teams in this league. And that's what they've done to the tune of 8-3. But when you come up against elite teams, you got to be able to have a little bit of diversity. You got to think outside the box. You got to be able to give them some things they're not looking for. You got to go off schedule a bit. Aaron Rodgers was not good in that department tonight. You got to be able to do some things that takes advantage of what they do. They want to be over aggressive to the first thing they see. All right, run the stretch this way, throw a screen back that way. You got to start doing some things that are a little unconventional to what you do. Maybe spread them out. Get their best players off the field. Their defensive line is their strength. So you having your big guys and your big personnel on the field, probably not going to help you. And I thought the offense of the Packers set the tone for the night, because they got all, and I'm going to talk about the 49ers. They did win the game, okay? I am going to get to them, and we are going to talk about them for the vast majority of this show. But I just wanted to get the Packers out of the way while it was fresh on my mind. I thought they set the tone offensively, all right? So Devontae Adams catches a nice little pass out in the flats, turns it up, gets a gain of 15, or a gain of 10, out to the 40-yard line. They got it going, okay? Nice little 5-yard run to start the game off, and then a 10-yard pass, and then all of a sudden, you're at your own 40, and you got a little bit of momentum going, and he decides to pick up a stupid-ass 15-yard penalty. Still first down, but the 15 yards you just gained it's vanquished. It's no more. You're starting right where the possession started from the jump at the 25-yard line. Well, that was dumb. I mean, that was really stupid. And then Aaron Rodgers fumbles a damn football like he's a rookie or something. Okay, you're getting tackled. Cover the damn football up. So ball comes squirted out. They scoop it up. They're down at the 2-yard line. 49ers score on the very next play. And I thought that set the tone for the game, because I actually thought the Green Bay Packers defensively played well in this game. Despite the George Kittle big touchdown and the defensive letdowns late in the game when the game was well out of reach, I thought this defense did everything in their power to keep this ball game close early, and the offense of the Packers wet the bed. And then I'll take it a step further. Matt LaFleur call a timeout on a 4th and 1. And I'm thinking, yeah, they about to get jiggy with this one. You know what I mean? First of all, if I got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, it's 4th and 1 against a defense that we've watched time and time again stop teams on 4th and 1 trying to run. How many times have we seen Robert Saleh on the sidelines going nuts, jumping up, chest bumping people, and having veins pop out of his neck from adulation because they just got to stop on 4th and goal or 4th and 1, and a team tried to run it and they shut it down? So you think I'm going to call a timeout and then come up with my best run play out of gun, okay? And you think I'm going to run it against this brick wall of a defense? Or am I going to give it to my future Hall of Fame quarterback and let him throw a 2-yard pass for a first down? You pick which one makes the most sense. I mean, I just thought it was a really poor game plan by the Packers. I thought it was poorly executed by the Packers. And I thought they had no answer. It's almost as if they didn't watch film on the 49ers and didn't know what challenges they presented to them. I mean, you got a lot of singled up opportunities. I didn't think they looked to the quick passing game enough. I don't know what they were expecting, but obviously what they got and what they were expecting were two totally different things. And that's why you got to credit the 49ers. And now we're going to switch gears and talk about the team that actually won this game in blowout fashion in the San Francisco 49ers, because they dominated this game and they deserved to win this football game because they were the better team. And it was clear from the jump. It was clear from the outset of this game that they were the better team. And you know what I found really interesting is that so many people, I'm not one of them. I think that Jimmy G has a really bright future in this league, and I think he can play at a good enough level to help the 49ers potentially win a Super Bowl. I know a lot of people think that he's going to be their downfall when the playoffs start. I disagree with that. I really do. And I think when plays are there to be made, Jimmy G makes them. Now, if you're asking him to put the team on his back, is he capable of that right now? I think he might ultimately be capable of that down the road. Is he capable of doing that right now? I don't know. We'll see. He's shown flashes of being able to do that, but it's been against lesser competition. I don't know if he's capable of doing that when you're playing against the likes of a Seattle. And I thought he did enough to help them win that game with all the odds against him. No Kittle, no E-Man Sand. They were dealing with a number of injuries in that game. And I thought he overcame a lot of things, and yet they weren't able to get it done. And I don't think the chief reason they weren't able to get it done, a lot of people try to put the blame in his lap in that game. I wasn't one of them, was because of his play in that game. I disagree. But did he put the team on his back in that game? No. And that's the thing is I don't know if he's capable of doing that against the Seattle Seahawks of the world, or, you know, the New Orleans Saints of the world. And we'll get to see him in that environment on the road at New Orleans in a couple of weeks. We'll get to see him against Baltimore next week on the road. And these will be good tests for him and this 49ers team to really see what they're about, what their mental makeup is in some tough environments against some really good quality football teams. But I just know this much. That defense right now, I'd take that defense over the Patriots defense. And I'm on board with the Patriots defense now. Remember, I kept trying to tell you they're not the 85 Bears, and they're not. Neither is this 49ers defense, but they're damn good. The Patriots defense is really good. So is this San Francisco 49ers defense. And I think they're the best defense in football. I know what the Patriots are doing is ridiculous. And I feel like the circumstances are a little bit different because in the AFC, you're probably allowed to do some of the things that the Patriots have done. Now, again, granted, they're the New England Patriots, and what they've done is nothing short of remarkable, especially when you look at the talent on their defense versus the 49ers defense. Like the 49ers, you probably expect this kind of defensive output from them because of the players they have on that side of the football versus the Patriots, where you're like, I don't know if there are any Pro Bowlers on that defense. I don't know if there are any guys that are household names, but yet they get it done week in, week out. But again, I'm taking the 49ers defense over any other defense in the league right now. And it starts up front. You know how much of a luxury it is to just rush 4 and be able to drop 7 into coverage? Do you know how much of a luxury it is to not have to blitz? But when you do decide to blitz, somebody's getting home. Like, they don't blitz often, but when they do, they drink Dos Equis. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you're getting from them. When they do decide to blitz, all right, somebody's hitting home. Somebody's coming scot-free. And so it's a beautiful thing when you can rush 4, still generate pressure, and drop 7. And that's what they did basically all night long. And then when they decided to spice things up a bit and send an extra defender or 2, the Packers had absolutely no answer for it. None. Aaron Rodgers was looking for somewhere to curl up into a fetal position and not get crushed. So I thought the defensive performance was dominant tonight. They stopped him on the ground. They forced Aaron Rodgers to have to beat them. The Packers did not have a great game plan to get that done, and they went after him, and they dismantled that Packers offense piece by piece, left them scattered around Levi Stadium. I mean, it was a dominant performance. 37-8. I mean, come on now. How many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers, and a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I may add. Okay, we've seen banged up Aaron Rodgers take ass whippings before. We've never seen healthy Aaron Rodgers get beat up like this to the point where he doesn't even finish the game because they're like, you know what? Game's already over. We don't want you to take any more hits. You're good. Just let the backup finish the rest of the game. I mean, that's where we were tonight, 37-8. That's the kind of dominance we saw from this 49ers defense. And I actually like their linebackers too. You know, I wasn't high on Dre Greenlaw coming out of Arkansas, and he's been extra special for them this year. I love Fred Warner. Loved him out of BYU. Loved him last year as a rookie, and he's continuing to play top-notch football for them. I thought they were going to miss Quan Alexander a ton when he got injured. Dre Greenlaw just stepped in, and they haven't missed a beat defensively. And so when you look at this secondary, they spent a bunch of draft capital on that line. They also spent a ton of early round draft capital in that secondary. And it's all starting to come together. Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tart and Ahkello Witherspoon. These are all guys that they spent picks in the first 3 rounds on, and you're seeing it pay dividends. You look at the defensive line, and all of those first rounders that they have is Solomon Thomas and Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner and Nick Bosa. All of those guys are first round picks. Like, they spent the draft capital to make this defense what it is, and now they're seeing the fruits of their labor. They're now starting to collect the dividends that defense is yielding them, and it is fun to watch. I must say, this defense is extraordinary, and they tackle so well. How many times did the Packers try to get out in space, make a guy miss, and they just weren't having it tonight? If it was a 6-yard pass, it was a 6-yard gain. If it was an 8-yard pass, you might have got lucky and got 9, but that was it. And I look at what they did defensively tonight, and I say, who can't they do that to? I think they can do the same thing to the New Orleans Saints, and it's going to be fun to watch that game in a couple of weeks. I think the one team that they're going to struggle with is the team in their division in the Seattle Seahawks. That team knows them. Okay, it's family business. Outside of Seattle, I think they can take out anybody in the NFC. They can beat the Dallas Cowboys, I believe. They can beat the Philadelphia Eagles if they somehow magically win the division. Whoever wins that division is going to be one and done. I firmly believe that. They can beat the Green Bay Packers as they've shown tonight. I think they can beat the Saints. And I think that's going to be a fun game. And that game could be for the number 1 seed and home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. That's going to be an interesting game to keep an eye on because as I look at the Saints, I don't anticipate them losing another game in the division. We'll see what happens on Thanksgiving night at Atlanta. They struggled with the Falcons a couple of weeks ago at home. That's interesting, but they got to go to Carolina. I expect them to be able to take care of business there. They got to go to Atlanta on Thanksgiving, and I expect them to take care of business there. And then they got Tampa at home. So I expect them to be able to win the vast majority of their remaining games left on their schedule. So that game could be for 13-3. I think that's going to be the magic number in the NFC for the number 1 seed, but that's going to be the tiebreaker. 13-3. Whoever wins that game and goes 13-3, because I don't think anyone's going 14-2. If anybody will, it'll be this 49ers team, but I don't see anybody going 14-2. I see 13-3 being that watermark number for the number 1 seed in the NFC, but it's going to be the team that wins that game. I think is going to get the nod with the number 1 seed. So that's going to be an intriguing game to watch in a couple of weeks, but I think they can beat the Saints. You know what I mean? So I think the one team that they're going to struggle with is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. That's the one team that I think knows them and has the antidote because Russell Wilson can extend plays. Russell Wilson can get out of the pocket, you know, and he can negate some of that team speed that they have. So his ability, and I told you off script, is how you hurt a defense like the 49ers. Because initially, they're going to be in zone and their eyes are on the quarterback, but they're going to lose the guy that is in their zone because their eyes are on Russell Wilson. And now he's threatening the line of scrimmages. So now they're reacting to that. Now somebody's running wide open in the zone. So that's why a guy like Russell Wilson is so dangerous to a team like San Francisco. Because if he escapes the pocket, now all bets are off. So I don't think there's another team in the NFC that has a quarterback like that. Maybe Dallas with Dak Prescott, maybe Carson Wentz in Philadelphia, but those teams to me aren't complete teams. They're just not. So this was dominant defensively. And then we look at the offense. It doesn't really matter who's in the backfield, whether it's Raheem Mostert or Matt Breida didn't even play tonight. He was banged up. Or it's Tevin Coleman. It doesn't matter. They can run the football. That's the thing I've always loved about Kyle Shanahan and Mike, for that matter, where it all started, is that they're going to run the football. It doesn't matter who's back there. They're going to have success running the football. And that's going to set up play action fake. You have to respect it. And when you come up to try and stop the run, they're going to hurt you. You saw it tonight. The Packers fought, scratched, clawed to get down the field, needed help with aided penalties and all kinds of things like that to even get in the end zone and get the 2-point conversion. And now it's a 2-score game and they're right back in it. And just like that, couple of runs, loosen them up a bit. Boom, big shot over the top to George Kittle. Just like that, it's over. Taste the rainbow. Just like that game, set, match. So, and Jimmy didn't miss. And I thought Jimmy played a really good game tonight. Managed the game, took what the defense gave them, didn't try to do anything major. 14 of 20, 2 and some change, couple of touchdown passes, ball game. I love it. Love it. I thought Jimmy was exceptional in this football game. So, when you look at the 49ers, they're a complete team. And I don't see anybody in the NFC stopping them outside of Seattle, to be honest with you. Again, anxious to see what they do in New Orleans, but that game's in New Orleans. If they see the Saints in the postseason, that game could be in San Francisco. Now, again, they got to win the division. And they're going to have to go to Seattle and win potentially to win this division, a team that has already beaten them once in San Francisco. So they still got work to do the 49ers. But I tell you this much, if they find a way to get home field throughout in the NFC playoffs and the road to the Super Bowl in the NFC goes through San Francisco, show me a team that's going to come in there and beat them outside of Seattle. Show me one. This was dominant tonight. This was what I thought could happen but didn't expect it to happen. I thought this was very possible. In my mind, I said either the Packers are going to win this game, whether it's close or a blowout. I didn't think they were capable of blowing out the 49ers, not with that defense. But I said either it's a close Packers win or a dominant 49ers performance. That was what I thought in my head. And I sided with a close Packers win because I bet on Rodgers being able to be better than Garoppolo. And like I said, I actually didn't have a problem with the way the Packers defensively played in this game for the first 3 quarters of this game. I actually thought they gave their team a chance. You know, that first touchdown, you don't charge that to the Packers defensively. You charge that to the offense. You know, I thought they gave themselves a chance. And I didn't think the offense gave them any chance in this game. So, dominant performance by the 49ers. Let's get to your comments and see what you guys have to say about this one. Just a total dominant performance by the San Francisco 49ers. Niners fan says, I was laughing all week at the media who picked the Packers to win this game. We match up so well with them, and honestly, I'm hoping we face these boys again at home in the playoffs. I agree. I mean, styles make fights, as I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, and they just don't match up well with you. But then again, not many teams in the NFC do match up. I think the team you'll be playing on Sunday next week in Baltimore matches up with you very well. I think that's a team that could give you fits because of the fact that Lamar Jackson is so dynamic, and I think this defense is going to struggle. Even though it's a lot of team speed defensively, he's the kind of quarterback that could give you trouble because he can get outside the pocket, extend plays with his legs, and that's going to hurt this zone defense, as I mentioned, with Russell Wilson. Niners fan says, as every week goes by, it's getting harder and harder to re-sign Eric Armstead in the offseason. Dude's a monster. Love Eric Armstead. And you can't keep everybody. You got to make decisions that do sting sometimes. And if I were you, I'd find a way to try to keep him, if at all possible. As you mentioned, you can't keep everybody, and the dude is beasting. Solomon Thomas is the one I would find a way to let go. So if you can find a way to keep Eric Armstead, I know it's going to be tough because you got Defoe and all of these other guys that are going to have to get paid money, but you got to keep it like Seattle did. why? The difference was they had Russell on a rookie deal, so they were able to keep a lot of their defensive guys. Jimmy Garoppolo's not on a rookie deal, so it is what it is. If Eric isn't able to come back, you'll feel that loss, but you'll probably be okay. Ed says, I feel like the 49ers are for real. Their defense is for real. The slackers got a little exposed. I feel like they got exposed tonight, but I was already on to their tomfoolery a few weeks back when they got destroyed in Los Angeles by the Chargers. But again, in my mind, I justified it. Very foolishly, I did. And so tonight, I put a lot of pressure on them tonight. I said, look, I'm going to know a lot about you after this game. And are you for real or not? I've watched the Packers very closely this season. And this is not your typical Aaron Rodgers-led offensive attack where Aaron Rodgers can take over a game throwing the football. That's not how this offense is constructed nor configured. It's not how this offense is called. This is a totally different Packers offense than the one we saw under Mike McCarthy where Aaron Rodgers had free reins to go out and sling it 47 times if need be. That's not how this Packers offense is set up. They're set up to run the football, to be balanced, to go play action fake off of the run, and to be able to keep teams honest by running the football and using Aaron Rodgers to throw off of the run. In past years, Aaron Rodgers threw the football to set up the run. It is now the polar opposite in Green Bay. They run the football to set up the pass. And so when they fall behind and they're not running the football effectively, they are in trouble. So yes, they were exposed tonight, but it's not uncommon to what we've seen when they've played teams like San Francisco earlier in the season where they struggled mightily on the offensive side of the football. Niners fan says, once again, Jimmy proves the haters wrong, and I love it. We are a completely different offense with Kittle. Yes, you are. And when I picked the Green Bay Packers, I also was banking on the fact that he wouldn't play. And when I found out he was practicing, I said, oh, shit, I think I made a mistake. It was too late to go back at that point. But if I could change it, once I found out he was going to play, I would have. Because to me, he's that big of a difference. This offense is totally different when George Kittle is in it. Similar to the Patriots offense with Gronk in it. You can put Gronk right smack dab in the middle of that Patriots offense the way it's configured right now, and they're a much better offense. They run it better. They throw it better. Everything's different with Gronk in there. You take Gronk out, and now they're just an ordinary-ass, regular NFL offense struggling to try to put points on the scoreboard and needing the help of their special teams and their defense to put points on the scoreboard. Same thing can be said for the San Francisco 49ers without Kittle. They're in regular offense without George Kittle. Now, they still can run it, and that's the difference between them and the Patriots, is they still, without Kittle, they still can run it. And we all saw Dwelly come in and kick ass at tight end for them in Kittle's absence. He's not George Kittle, but he filled in very admirably, okay? So that's the difference, though. They can run it still. But if you want them to be able to pass it to at a high clip, George Kittle's the man for the job. Gregory Lightbody says, I can't imagine how Chase Young will be if he's better than Nick Bosa. Hey, look, that's why if you're a Redskins fan, winning today, counterproductive. It's great. You want to see it, but you hate to see it because the more you win, the further away you get from getting a guy that could truly change the game in Chase Young. And, man, I want him bad. Anyway, the 20th Mike says, hopefully the Packers play better or more enjoyable to watch when this team meets in the playoffs, most likely. Reese says, wow, Lou, didn't predict this game going the way at all. San Fran gave them the business. Niners fan says, Lou, I'm telling you right now that we will lose to Baltimore next week. We struggle with mobile quarterbacks. As I just said, I feel like a guy like Lamar Jackson will give them fits. Like I said, Russell Wilson gives them problems. He also says, and our O-line won't be able to handle the pressure from that defense. We'll see. Baltimore's defense is good. It's not great. I think If you can run the football against them, which will be the key, you'll have a chance in that game. If you cannot establish the run and you force Jimmy G to have to beat them by himself, then that's when you run into an issue. So we'll see. JP says, a Packers fan on Facebook was literally crying at halftime about the refs when the 49ers, who were simply the better team. Do you think the refs were bad? I thought there were some calls that went against the Packers that were unfortunate, but no. The officials didn't impact this game to the point. Again, it's the same thing I said when the Colts lost to the Patriots in the playoffs and everyone was screaming Deflategate. I said, don't talk to me about deflated footballs when you get your ass run by 4 or 5 touchdowns. You lose the game by 6 or you lose the game by 9. Yeah, we can have a discussion about maybe the footballs being doctored or whatever the case may be. When you get your ass run out of the damn building, I don't want to hear about the officials. Ed says the West Coast isn't good to the Packers. Apparently not. Apparently not. You know what else isn't good to the Packers? Elite defenses aren't good for the Packers either. Niners fan says, damn, we were able to generate a ton of pressure without D Ford tonight. Our depth up front is crazy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, hell, even DeMontre Moore looks like a player for y'all. When you put DeMontre Moore next to Eric Armstead, Defoe, and Nick Bosa, even DeMontre Moore looks like he's ready to go get 7.5, 8 sacks this season, man. Shit. JP says, was this more about the 49ers being great or the Packers being lousy? No, this is the 49ers. It's 90% the 49ers and their greatness and 10% the Packers not being able to handle what they do. It's a combination of both, but I don't want to diminish what the 49ers did, so I'm going to give them all the credit in the world. But it is an indictment on the Packers. This is who they are. So I'm not surprised by this outcome because I saw it earlier in the season, twice already. You know, one is a coincidence, twice is a trend. Now I'm expecting this from them when they see this kind of defense. So I was only shocked because I expected better from them in terms of staying in this game. You know, 0 for whatever on third downs. Are you kidding me? Seriously? You can't convert a third down? An Aaron Rodgers-led offense can't convert a third down? I mean, I didn't expect that. You know, I expected them to struggle. I didn't expect it to that extent. Black L.A.B says, teams against the Vikes are averaging 200 yards and 18.5 points a game, and they've only given up. Oh, wait. Are you going numbers on me, Black L.A.B? Because I can run off the teams you've played this season. Don't play with me, man. Don't try me tonight, okay? Because I can give it to you right now if you want it. You played the NFC East, so stop right there. It's the worst division in football. So don't spit numbers at me. Please spare me, all right? Because when you've played real offenses, you've struggled. So please miss me with the what yards you're giving up and how many points per game. If you watch the Vikings play, I watched you against the Lions. You should have gave up 40 in the game, okay? You couldn't stop a nosebleed in that game. Your offense had to score 40 for you to win. So please miss me with that. Thank you. 20th Mike says, this 49ers team is dangerous, man. This is what a good team looks like, both with a good defense and an offense starting to pick up. This team, I just said, this is why I feel like they're the front runners in the NFC, and until somebody shows me otherwise, that's the team I'm picking to go to the Super Bowl, especially if all roads through the NFC go through San Francisco. Now, again, we could be sitting here lauding and praising the 49ers here, in 3 weeks from now, they could be the number 3 seed in the NFC, or they could be the number 5 seed because the Seattle Seahawks have overtaken them and they've lost 3 straight because they got to go on the road against 2 really good teams the next 2 weeks. And we could be singing a totally different tune about San Francisco in 3 weeks from now. So right now, as it stands in week 12, 49ers are the team to beat in the NFC, but we'll see. We will see. Reese says, George Kittle is a monster. Lou, I'm not sure he's human. Niners fan says, the Packers D is so overrated. When you can't stop the run, you don't stand a shot in the postseason. I actually thought they played well tonight. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. They gave their team a chance. I thought it was the offense of the Packers that let them down, not being able to convert on third downs, turning the football over. They got to come on the field and defend 2 yards of grass. Give me a break. I thought the defense of the Packers played well enough tonight. They got after Jimmy Garoppolo a little bit early in the game, sacked him. I thought they did a good enough job early in the game of stopping the run. If not for a dumb penalty when the 49ers had to punt, you don't get a field goal to make it 10. It would have been, really, it should have been 0-0 for the longest. I mean, that penalty extended a drive that otherwise would have ended in a punt. And then you turn around and you get the fumble that netted a touchdown a play later. I thought the defense, really, at halftime, the score should have been 10-0, worst case scenario. But instead, it was 23 because the Packers couldn't get a first down at the end of the first half that allowed the 49ers to get the football back yet again to score another field goal. So should have been 10-0 at worst. And I really felt like the Packers defensively, they gave their team a shot. Unfortunately, the offense did not. So I get it, though. The Packers are not elite defensively. And anybody that says they are wrong. But they're not terrible on defense. Not like past years where you felt like you could just move the football up and down the field on them. Let's see. Azad Bilal says, as a Packers fan, I'm depressed. The only positive I can see is that we got the Giants, Skins, and Bears coming up, and we still got a bye. Hopefully we can respond like we did versus Carolina. And that's what I said, is that they're going to play some of these teams that will give them opportunities to win football games, and they're going to take full advantage of that. And they're going to end up with a really good record that I don't think is indicative of who they are as a football team. They're more of a 10-6, 11-5 team. They're going to finish this season up at 12-4 or 13-3, which, again, I don't think that's who they are, but that's what they're going to end up finishing this season. Most likely. We'll see. Niners fan says, I like our chances at NOLA later on in the year. I think that our ability to get to Breeze and run the football on that defense is a good recipe for success in the Dome. I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree with you. But I think you will have problems containing Michael Thomas. I do think that is going to be a reality, and I do think you're going to have problems containing Alvin Kamara in the pass game. Not in the run game, but in the pass game. So those are 2 matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing because nobody can stop Michael Thomas. Only Michael Thomas and Drew Brees can stop Michael Thomas. But right now, he's getting 10 catches a game, pretty much, every game. At least 8, but more like 10. So I think he's going to eat your defense up, and I think Kamara out of the backfield is going to pose some problems to you as well. Niners fan says, Quan Williams has been really good in the nickel for us this year. He has. He has been really good for you tonight. Lorenzo Simpson says, who are the Green Bay Packers? I already explained who the Packers are to you guys tonight, at least in my estimation, who they are, through my eyes, who they are. KT the Southern Gent says, how do you, okay, I don't know what you're asking me, but he says, looks like the Niners versus the Saints might be the game of the year. Could be, depending on what the records are when those 2 teams meet. You could be looking at 11-1 versus, 10-2 at that point, Very possible. Reese says, yes, I did see Vita Vea's touchdown. It was pretty cool to see a guy that big catching a touchdown pass. J. Cam says, good thing they moved this game to prime time, LOL. He says, seriously, I love football so much. So many of the games this year have been boring. I was really disappointed. Me and my girl sat down thinking this was going to be an epic contest, and it just wasn't. But again, that's what happens when you come up against a juggernaut and they run through you like a hot knife through butter. Got to give credit where credit is due. That's how good the 49ers have been this season. J. Cam Man says, birthday win for my Bills. Hey, happy birthday, man. Told you were going to win that game. You thought you were going to win this game. I told you your team is better than you think. I'm just going to tell you, you got a chance on Thursday to beat the Dallas Cowboys. We're just going to leave it at that. Likely Phenomenon says, great game by the 49ers. Rafael DeLuna says, Super Bowl 47 rematch. It's possible. It's possible. that would be the Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers. It's possible. I mean, we're going to see a preview of that next week, but both teams have to get there first. KT, the Southern gent, says, is Jason Garrett done in Dallas? Look, it's trending in that direction. You know, Jerry did not sound happy, but Jerry had already made it abundantly clear that he felt like this team was really talented this year and that he wanted to do something special this year. And if not, then changes would be made. And it doesn't help that Kellen Moore has done extraordinary things with that offense this season. I think that's the guy that most likely gets the job in Dallas if Jason Garrett is actually canned. But we'll see. How many times have we thought Jason Garrett was going to get fired and he hasn't? But generally, Jerry has come out with a vote of confidence instead of, demeaning him and the rest of the staff. So sounds like he's done. He's out of here right now. Black LB says, your boy A-Rod can't go home. Losses against the Chargers and Niners in Cali. You're right. He struggled out there this season, for sure. Niners fan says, DJ Jones is really good. Love him off the bench. He was extraordinary tonight and has been really good for them, especially in the run game. He's been extraordinary. Niners fan says, do you see us securing the number 1 seed in the NFC? Again, we're going to see. I think what you need to focus on more than anything else is just win your division first. You don't want to be the Chargers from last year where you go 13-3, 12-4, but you end up with a 5th or 6th seed. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to go, 13-3, but lose the season series to the Seahawks, get swept. They go 13-3 and you lose the division. That's what you don't want to do because then you're on the road. So win your division first and everything else will probably fall into place for you. That's the best advice I can give you. 20th Mike says, think the last time healthy Aaron Rodgers got blown out on a Sunday night was against the Redskins 3 years ago, I think. Probably not. I mean, even that game wasn't a blowout until the very end. Like, this was ass whooping, sit on the bench with 6-7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That Redskins game didn't turn into a blowout until a late touchdown after Aaron Rodgers, I think he fumbled. Either he threw a pick or he fumbled. I want to say it was a fumble that got scooped up and ran in for a touchdown, and that's when it got out of control, and that was literally with like 3 minutes left. It was still a close game. And then that made it look like, 40 whatever to 20 whatever. It wasn't like, this was total annihilation. That's not what that was. That's what this was tonight, though. Azad Belial says, I hope we play the Niners again. We didn't come prepared at all, but once our backs are against the wall, I think that's when Aaron Rodgers is at his best. Hopefully we can see it again. I don't think you want to see this again. I really do not think you want to see this again. I think you want to avoid the Niners more so than any other team in the NFC at all costs, because that's the kind of team that causes problems for the Green Bay Packers. So I don't think you really want to see them again. You'd prefer anybody in the NFC but them. New Orleans, Dallas, Seattle, Minnesota, anybody but them. Tracy Cooper says, man, that was convincing. I didn't believe in them until maybe now. But on another note, I was pleased with the fight I saw from Haskins today, as well as the passion from the young guys. If you didn't believe in the 49ers, I don't know why you wouldn't have, but yeah, you should have. But I'm glad you do now. And I was pleased to see the fight from the young guys today as well. Let's see. Gregory Lightbody says, you heard the Giants have interest in George Kittle. They can have all the interest they want. They don't hold his rights. They don't have dibs on him. He's in San Francisco. And worst case scenario, if they couldn't re-sign George Kittle, which, again, it's not like George Kittle is a free agent after this season. He's only in his 3rd year. So there's still a whole nother year of George Kittle. And then if they don't find a way to reach an agreement with him, which they will because he's a tight end, it's not going to cost them an arm and a leg to do so. But even if they couldn't, franchise tag. So they could be as interested as they want in George Kittle. He's not on the market. So it's just like, all Redskins fans getting excited about Jeff Bezos being interested in buying an NFL franchise. Last time I checked, the Redskins aren't for sale. So what difference does it make? Anyway, JCamman99 says, I'm surprised you didn't pick your Redskins in winners and losers. No, I picked them last week against the Jets, and they were down 34-3. And so I had no business going down that road again. I was shocked that they won this game. And if you watch the game, you would know that they shouldn't have won the game. The Lions basically gave them the game, and the Redskins didn't want it, but the Lions didn't want it more. So I'd much rather lose picking against the Redskins than win or lose picking the Redskins. Because it doesn't make any sense when your team, they're 2-9 now, but they were 1-9 going into the game. I'm not going to do that again. Not picking the Redskins the rest of the season. Period. Reese says, I have deemed the 49ers running game ketchup and mustard. I can't with you, man. I can't. J. Man says, I still can't believe the 49ers dominated the Packers tonight. It'll be very interesting to see how they do against the Ravens and the Saints. Yes, it will. Tracy Cooper says, I think that emotional connection between KOC and Haskins when they sealed the win kind of made me want to give KOC the shot. You can't get in your feelings like that. You can't allow your emotions to get the best of you. That was great, and it was a nice feel-good moment, but that can't sway your decision to make it. What you see from Kevin O'Connell the remainder of the season should be more of why you want to give him an opportunity than him embracing Dwayne Haskins after a win against a bad Lions team. J.K. Man says, did you see how the Saints got a PI call against them after a challenge and they had their own rule used against them? Yeah, I did. It was ironic, wasn't it? Still won the damn game, though. JP says, is Bosa your defensive rookie of the year? I mean, who's going to stop him at this point? I mean, I don't even think he has any challengers. I mean, there may be a couple of guys out there. In Oakland, they got Max Crosby out there playing ball. But, I mean, we're talking about Nick Bosa, man. Like, seriously. They think that one's wrapped up already. You had some people considering him for defensive MVP of the league, which I don't think is going to happen. But J. Camman says, which game do you want to see the most on Thanksgiving? You just asked that question because you want to hear me say Cowboys, Bills. Because that is the game I want to see the most. That should be the game everybody wants to see the most, unless you're a fan of one of the other 4 teams that's playing. Duh. You just wanted to hear me say it, though, so I'm going to say it so you can be happy. I want to see Bills at Cowboys. That's the most entertaining game, I think, of Thanksgiving. I think the nightcap has a chance to be entertaining, but I think the Saints are looking for revenge from the loss a few weeks ago, and I think they'll get it. So I don't know if that game will be as close as some people may think, but that's going to be the most entertaining game, I believe. Gregory Lightbody says, did you see the Jets blowing out the Raiders? I did. I actually talked about it on my podcast. My problem was I didn't have the balls to pick it. And I said I was going to slap myself. I just did. If the Jets went out and did what I thought they were going to do today, and I didn't pick them, so I just slapped myself. So there that is. Anybody out there that wants their comment read, that's new to this stream, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. JP says, I think it's safe to say I was wrong about the 49ers when I said on the division breakdown that they were a year away from competing. I'll gladly take the egg on my face for that one. Hey, it happens sometimes. But I saw this one coming. It was brewing with what they were building out there. And, the record last year was skewed because of the Jimmy G injury. But I saw from afar what they were building with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan with all these draft picks. I said it's only a matter of time. Because even without having a quarterback, they were still running the football for a ton of yards the last 2 years. Even without a quarterback, they were still getting it done on the ground. And I told anybody that would listen, you go back and listen to my podcast last year. I was telling everybody that would listen, George Kittle is a beast and he's the truth. And you need to know about what he's doing in San Francisco despite them being garbage. George Kittle is legit. I told you that last year on the pod when I did my 23rd, what is it called? What's the name of that segment? The 23rd Chamber. When I uncover some of the NFL's best kept secrets. And George Kittle was one of them. That was last year, early in the season. Now you're seeing it come to fruition. So I kind of saw this coming, not to this extent, though. Not at 10-1. I didn't see that coming. I'm not going to sit here and try to take credit for that. Azad Belial says, you said the Packers struggle with elite defenses, but I disagree. We beat the Vikings. Whoa. Stop. Don't start naming defenses that aren't elite. The Vikings are not an elite defense. He says we beat. All right. Just because you beat a team doesn't mean you didn't struggle. You beat the Vikings. And if I remember this game correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, you scored 21 points in the first quarter. I don't know if you scored another point the remainder of the game. They shut your ass down after that hot start at the beginning of that game. All right, so you struggled for 3 quarters versus the Vikings. And they're not an elite defense. So let me check you right there. You struggled against the Bears. All right, anybody that watched that first game of the season knows you struggled. You scored 1 damn touchdown on an alley-oop pass that was an, oh, please bail me out, Jimmy Graham touchdown. Okay, so let me stop you there again. And then you said the Broncos. Last time I checked, the Broncos are 3-7. That's the last time I checked. Not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, all elite defenses. No, they're not all elite defenses. Okay? Just because you win a game, so let me reiterate this. Just because you win a game does not mean you did not struggle against that team. So, when you saw elite level defenses, you've struggled this season. I told you the 3 games where you played elite level defenses. You struggled in all 3 games, losing 2 out of the 3. The Broncos are really good on defense. They're not elite on defense. They're not elite. They're really good on defense. They're not elite. Anyway, Gregory Lightbody says, winning also decreases the chances of getting rid of Bruce Allen. Facts. Jesse Lind says, as a Packers fan, I think we need to win out in order to be a top 2 team. And we have to pretty much, because I don't see us winning in NOLA or San Francisco back to back. I concur. Reese says, Forever Frank is number 3 on the all-time rushing list. Yeah. And there's still people out there that don't think this man is a Hall of Famer. I don't really know what to say to him. Gregory Lightbody says, I meant to say they have interest in Jason Garrett. Oh, I saw that too. I'm about to say, what are you talking about George Kittle for? Jason Garrett, yes. I saw that report too that they may be interested in Jason Garrett. Well, if Redhead Jesus wants to go from one NFC East team to the next, man, bless his heart. He can have at it. Black Al B says, that Lions game was family business. Come on, man. No, I can't give you a pass. Elite is elite. Do the Bears give a damn that that's family business when they play y'all? Do they give a shit that it's family business? Or do they just go out and bust y'all ass on offense or defense all the time? Do they just take it to Kirk Cousins' ass and scare the bejesus out of your offense every time? No, they don't care. It's family business. So I can't give you that pass, man. I can't. Family business is family business. However, you handle family business the best way you know how. And the Lions know how to score points, and you're supposed to be able to stop them. Now, you know how to hurt Matthew Stafford. Every time y'all play them, something happens to Matthew Stafford. This year, y'all broke the man's back. But they still can score on y'all ass. Anyway, JP says, man, I want Bruce Allen the hell out of Washington. Well, keep hoping, man. Keep hope alive. He also says, are Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn in trouble in Detroit? I kind of spoke to that on my podcast. I didn't talk about Bob Quinn. He hired Matt Patricia, so he could be in jeopardy, but I don't know if he's in trouble or not. But I talked about Matt Patricia on the podcast. So I already did that. Jesse Lynn says, are the Niners the best team in the NFL right now? You could make that case. If I were doing a power ranking poll, I would put them at the top of my power rankings. Yes, I would do that right now. So, yeah, I think it's hard to argue right now. I mean, there are a couple of teams in that discussion, New England, Baltimore, Seattle. Those are all the teams in that mix. But for me, I think it's San Francisco right now. Gregory Lightbody says, so I'm glad the Skins aren't playing Thursday. I want to enjoy my food. Likewise. Me too, man. Me too. JP says, one of the reasons I didn't think the 49ers were ready to win was because they have a relatively young team. But this is the thing. They got a young team, but they've been in the struggle with that young team the last 2 years. 3 years if you want to go back a ways. A lot of these guys have been on this team and they've been learning how to win with each other. They've been going through the growing pains of losing close games, like at Lambeau last year when they had the Packers on the ropes and let them off the hook, or at L.A. versus the Chargers when they had the Chargers on the hook and let them off the hook last year. They learned how to win by losing those close games last year. Insert Jimmy Garoppolo, and they changed the game. So you saw this brewing. They've been learning on the job. They've been taking their lumps, and now here they are. JP says, which game surprised you the most today? It was the Saints game that surprised me the most because I thought they were going, at one point, I thought they were going to run away and hide from Carolina. Carolina should have won that game. If you watch that game, you know Carolina should have won that game. I told you on the podcast that Tampa Bay was going to go into Atlanta and win. So that wasn't a surprise to me. I told you on the podcast I was not going to be shocked if the Jets won, and I told you I would smack myself because I said that's a trap game for the Raiders, and I think the Raiders can fall into the trap, and they did. So that wasn't a surprise to me. The Redskins game surprised me. That was another surprise. Did not expect them to beat Detroit at all whatsoever. I could care less that Jeff Driscoll was at quarterback. I expected them to score 30-some-odd points and beat the Redskins, and they had ample opportunity to do it, and they didn't. But for me, the game that surprised me the most was probably and this game, of course. This game surprised me because I didn't expect an ass whooping. I expected the Packers to win. I picked the Packers, so I expected them to win. But even if they didn't win, I thought they would be more competitive. But in my mind, I said either they're going to win or they're going to get beat up. But beat up in my head was like lose by 17. It wasn't lose by 29. So in my head, it was like they're going to lose by 3 scores, you know, and that last score will be towards the end of the game to put it out of reach where it was still a competitive game throughout, not a total all-out ass whooping, you know. So, yeah. Jesse Lynn says, Frank Gore, AP, and LT all got snubbed in that all-time running back thing. Shaking my head. NFL Network has such a bias towards the 50 and 60s players. Look, we didn't see those guys. So you can't just discount them and act as if those guys didn't play ball in those days. You know, I didn't see those guys. I didn't see Marion Motley play. But everyone says he was a damn beast. Okay, fine. You know, this is the thing you got to remember. The NFL didn't start when we were born. Okay? So just because LT was one of the greatest running backs you've seen in your lifetime doesn't mean he deserves to be on the list of the top 12. I hear you. But look, those guys need to be included as well. You can't just leave them out because we didn't get to watch them play. XX Retro XX says, remember when you slept on McLaurin after the draft? Yeah, I do. I did. And I had to go back and watch and come back and say I was wrong about him. But my initial reaction when we took McLaurin was disappointment. That disappointment has since been washed away by pure joy and excitement and jubilation that we got it right. Joseph D says, what do you think the formula is to contain Russell Wilson? The best thing you could do to Russell Wilson is keep him inside the pocket. That's the best thing you could do. The minute that man breaks contain, you lost. Period. Keep Russell Wilson in the pocket. He's a 5'11 quarterback, 5'10, 5'11. That's where you want him. Really simple. You let him outside the pocket where he can use his legs and extend. He got you. He got you right where he wants you. Tracy Cooper says, what about Hugh Jackson or Marvin Lewis? What about him? No. And no. JP says, not NFL related, but my LSU Tigers are playing in the SEC Championship against Georgia on December 7th and pretty much have cemented a playoff spot. Really proud of my Tigers. I'm proud of them too. For once, Alabama not going to make it to the playoffs. And I feel really good about that. Damn good about that. Let Alabama play in the Sugar Bowl or the Cotton Bowl or the Citrus Bowl. Keep your ass out of the goddamn playoffs. Let somebody else in there, goddammit. And I'm hoping Utah gets in there because if Utah, now that Oregon lost, if Utah doesn't get in, then we're going to see Alabama's stinking ass back in there again. Azad Bilal says, Packers also need better receiving help. Hopefully Rodgers goes on a run-the-table type run here. It's possible. We've seen him do it in the past, and the schedule is favorable enough to do so. But again, I think come playoff time, I just don't see the Packers being able to beat a team like this. All right, I think they could beat anybody else in the NFC except this team right here. And so in order to, and now maybe in Lambeau, they might be able to do something. It's cold. It's that Packers type of ball game where you run the football. Maybe it's a little bit different at Lambeau in January. But for right now, you don't want to see this 49ers football team. So, anyway. All right, that's it. I'm getting out of here. We have done this for over an hour. So we've already exceeded our limit. But I thank you guys for joining me tonight, man. Really appreciate it. This game did not live up to the hype. You know what I mean? They flexed this into... They took the Eagles and Seahawks out of this spot. I'm glad they did that. That was a snooze fest. But they flexed this game in, and we thought we were getting a treat. And we got tricked. But it's okay. The 49ers are that damn good. So... you know what is the biggest takeaway here is that the Packers aren't capable of beating this kind of team. That's what this game was for me. I knew the 49ers were good already. Nothing they did tonight changes my opinion. I thought they were an elite team coming into this game. All right. What this did for me was it took the Packers out of that conversation. They're a notch below. And that's okay. Because they may not see this team. Somebody may do their dirty work for them, and they may end up getting Seattle or New Orleans or a team that they can handle in the postseason, and they don't even have to worry about San Francisco. That's how this thing works sometimes. You just need to avoid the teams that you need to avoid. And if you can do that, you may find yourself in the NFC Championship game or in the Super Bowl if you're Green Bay. Don't let this discourage you because you could end up in the Super Bowl because you may not have to play these boys. You may not have to see them again. Somebody else may take them out. And you may end up with the second seed in the NFC in the first game they play against the 5 seed. And let's say that 5 seed is Seattle. And they come off the bye and they got to play the Seahawks and they slay those boys for you. And you take care of business versus the Cowboys. And all of a sudden now, boom, you got a home playoff game in the NFC Championship versus the Seattle Seahawks. That's a winnable football game. So, don't be discouraged if you're a Packers fan. Just know you don't want any smoke with these boys. You don't want no parts of them. You don't want to catch the fade. So just leave them be. Let those boys play by themselves over there in the corner. You do you, let them do them. And you'll be fine. Now, if you got to face them, you got to face them. You can't run from the bully for the rest of your life. At some point, you got to face the bully. Hopefully, you're ready to punch that bully in the nose next time. Punch him right in the face. Or else the same thing's going to happen. He's going to take your lunch money. He's going to dump you upside down. He's going to take your lunch money, and he's going to embarrass you and send you home again. This time for good. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage. It could be. Man, these 49ers, I tell you, 37-8. Did not see that coming. Shucks. My goodness. They're now 10-1 on the season, matching the Patriots' 10-1 mark over in the AFC. Meanwhile, the Packers drop to 8-3 on the season. And look, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. They're now tied atop their division with the Minnesota Vikings. Week 16 is going to be for the division. Let's face it. You know what? Take that back. Their schedule is so soft. Minnesota's schedule is not. they may be able to lose that game in week 16 and still win this division. We'll see. I told you I don't believe in Minnesota. So we'll see. If Minnesota goes to Seattle and wins on Monday night next week, then week 16 is for the division. And I actually think Minnesota could win that game. So we will see. But in any event, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Remember, like this video, subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so, share this video, and oh, by the way, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss anything on the Louie T Network. And check out the podcast as well. Louie T Network podcast, available on all streaming platforms. You got it on Google Music Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, and the website louietnetwork.net, among others, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So you guys enjoy. Take care.